calorimeter, a device which is used for measuring the quality of steam. So basic idea is to that a wet steam is through throttling process is brought to a state of superheated state, and in that superheated state the pressure and temperature of the steam is measured, and then because throttling process is a constant enthalpy process, the enthalpy at the state after the throttling is obtained using thermodynamic tables, okay, because both temperature and pressure are known. Then it is equated with the state 1 to obtain the quality of the steam. So let us first discuss how this is done. So this figure basically shows a throttling calorimeter. Can you see this figure? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir.
So here it is basically a steam main. This is the steam pipe through which steam is collected through a perforated tube. So this is sampling tube. Now when the sample is taken, its temperature, its pressure is taken, because this is a wet steam. If we take the pressure, temperature is also automatically fixed up. Then it passed through a throttling bulb. So you can see this is basically insulated one. Okay, during the throttling process, the simple steam sample goes from state 1 to state 2. Okay, so at state 2, after the throttling, what property will remain same? Enthalpy. So H1 should be equal to H2. Now throttling should be done in such a way that state 2 is basically in the superheated state, and it is not very close to the saturated state. Sufficient amount of superheating is required in order to accurately determine the quality of the steam. So state 2 is basically a superheated state. A minimum 5 degree or 10 degree of superheating is essential. Degree of superheating means how far you are from the saturated vapor line. If the saturation temperature is Tsat and if degree of superheating is 10 degree, then state 2 should be equal to Tsat plus 10 degree. Okay. Now this steam will be basically come to another chamber, okay, insulation chamber, where its temperature and pressure will be measured using some mercury manometer. Here it is shown, and there is a thermometer. Then that steam will go to the condenser and the condensate will be collected. Now during this process, what are the quantities, what are the parameters which are measured? One is the state 1, the pressure is known. State 2, both temperature and pressure are known. And with this knowledge, we can actually find what is the value of the dryness factor. Okay, so here we have seen the same thing. You can see in the process diagram that, let us look at the HS diagram. Okay, in the HS diagram you can see that the state 1 is P1, where the steam is the wet steam. Now it is throttled. During the throttling process in the HS diagram, it will be horizontal line. It will come to the state 2, where pressure is P2 and T2. Now if we know P2 and T2 from the superheated table, we know what is the enthalpy H2, that we may consult the superheated steam table and we will get the value of H2. Once we know the value of H2, we know H1 is equal to H2 during throttling process. Now what is H1? H1 is HF1 plus X into HFG1. Okay, so X may be written as H2 minus HF1 divided by HFG1. So this is the basic operating principle of a throttling calorimeter. Similar type of calorimeter may be obtained in case of similar kind of technique may be used in some other kind of calorimeters. We'll discuss that. Here we look into this problem. The problem is that here the state is basically 1, and after throttling, let us say pressure is P1. We are considering that the steam is at say 1.5 MPa pressure. So state 1 corresponds to a state where the quality of the steam is X1, which has to be determined and the pressure is basically P1, which is let us say 1.5 MPa. Now it is throttled to a pressure, let us say atmospheric pressure. Okay, so if you throttle it, it will go to the horizontal line in the HS diagram, and the corresponding temperature will be equal to let us say 105 degrees centigrade. Okay. Now just think of the situations for the same pressure difference. That means from 1.5 MPa to the atmospheric pressure. If the steam initial state of the steam is at 1 prime, what will be the end state? 2 prime. Similarly, if the initial state of the steam is at 1 double prime, what will be the state of the steam after throttling? It will be 2 double prime. So you can see as the quality of the sample steam is reducing, the end state is coming close to the saturated vapor state. So we said that for a minimum degree of superheating is required in order to find accurately the quality of the steam. Fine. So we can see here when the inlet steam quality is X1 double prime, we cannot basically measure the quality of the steam, right? Because H2 is also in the saturated region. So in that case, pressure and temperature are coupled. They are not decoupled. So we cannot get the value at that state, right? Or if it comes inside, we cannot measure it. So we can say that a minimum quality of the steam is required in this process to find the quality of the steam. So if this minimum quality is, let us say, if we say that 105 degree, a minimum of 5 degree superheating is required for superheating, is for required for finding the quality of the steam. So here you can see it is basically T2 is equal to 105. So corresponding quality of the steam has to be 105 degree. Understood this point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, just wait for 5 minutes. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so let's start. Uh, can you listen me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. as you can understand that a minimum quality is required for measuring the or a minimum amount of superheating is required. So if the quality of the steam is very poor or it's very wet, what can be done? A different system may be used that is called combined separating and throttling calorimeter. What is done in this particular case? You can see here the steam is taken and then the steam goes to a separator. Okay, so let us say we are taking mass of the steam to be in at a pressure of P1. Okay, and it goes to a separator where certain amount of condensate is basically collected. Okay, so let us say as it goes from pass through this separator, okay, what would happen? Some moisture is separated. Let us say if we run the system or monitor the system for, let us say, 5 minutes of time, and during this 5 minutes this system is operating in a steady state and continuously it is supplying at a fixed rate the steam. Now out of this, let us say in 5 minutes of time, M1 amount of moisture is basically separated from the sample steam. Now what will leave? See, when this separating takes place, what is separated? Only the water which is present, that is separated. Vapor will leave, right? So what is the difference between 1 and 2? It is the difference between the moisture which has been collected. Then it comes to state 2. So quality of state 2 will be higher than quality of 1 or not? What will be the quality of state 2? It will be higher than 1 or not? Are you getting my point, or I am unable to make you convince or explain the situation? If we look the quality of the steam at state 1 and state 2, which one will have a higher quality?
So state 2 is.
State 2 because moisture is separated but vapor is present. The same vapor is present, right? So after state 2, so what we are doing is basically improving the quality of the steam. Then it passes through a throttling valve. Okay, so state 2 to state 3 is basically a throttling process where we can apply that H2 is equal to H3. After that, the same steam after throttling, it will come to a chamber where basically its pressure and temperature are measured. Okay. Then it goes to a condenser where the condensate is collected. Now let us say during 5 minutes or 10 minutes of operation, if a steady flow situation is maintained, during that particular time interval, let us say M1 amount of moisture is collected in the separator and M2 mass is collected in the condensate. So what is the mass flow rate here? It will be equal to M1 plus M2. Fine. So particular setup, we can find the quality of the steam. Okay, how to do that? So look into the process here, basically in the HS diagram. So let us say my initial pressure is P1. Now, what is the state 2? As it goes to state 2, what is changing? It's basically some amount of moisture is basically collected. So what would happen? Its moisture content will reduce, but its pressure will remain constant. Okay, so moisture content quality from X1, it will go to X2. So these are the constant quality lines. X1, X2, there will be other lines. So this is X corresponding to 1 and this is X corresponding to 0. Okay. So it will go from 1 to 2. At state 2, it will pass through, it will enter into what it is called the expansion valve or throttle valve. Then it will go to state 3. Okay. So at state 3, we know the temperature and pressure. So we know what is the enthalpy at state 3. Okay. So once you know the enthalpy at state 3, H2 should be equal to H3 because it's a throttling process. So we know the value of H2 and we can also find the value of X2 just like the previous process. Once we know the value of X2, we can correlate it with X1 because the difference between 1 and 2 is the mass of the condensate or the mass of the moisture which is collected in the separator. So let us look into this is the thermodynamic in the thermodynamic process table HS diagram, the process is shown here. So here you can see how to find the value of x1. The objective is to find the quality of the steam at the state 1. So what is happening? Steam is at state 1, then some amount of moisture is collected, and let us say at a time of delta T, M1 mass of moisture is collected. Then it comes to state 2, okay, where the quality of the steam is x2, and then it goes to the throttling calorimeter, and after that some condensate is collected, that is equal to M2. So what is M2? M2 is basically M minus M1. M is the total mass. That is M is equal to M1 plus M2. Now, the mass of the vapor which is present at state 1 should be equal to mass of the vapor in state 2 also, because no vapor is collected. So what we can write is that if N is the mass of the steam sample, then we can say MV plus ML is the total mass. So X1 is basically MV divided by N. That is what we have to find. Now here, MV is basically at state 2, mass is basically M2 mass is passing through, because M2 condensate is collected. So at state 2 we have the mass of the vapor which is also present at state 1, plus out of this total mass, this is basically M liquid will be equal to, originally liquid what was there, moisture was there, minus the moisture which is collected at this separator, which is equal to M1. So M2 may be written as MV plus ML minus M1. This is MV is the mass of the dry vapor, remain same at state 1 and state 2. Now S3 is equal to H2, we know P3 and T3. So S3 may be written as HF2 plus HF2 into X2. So we'll get the value of X2. Once we know the value of X2, what is X2? X2 is basically mass of the vapor at state 2 divided by the total mass at state 2. Okay. So what is the total mass at state 2? That is M2 which is collected. So mass of the dry vapor at state 2 is basically M2 into X2. That is also the mass of the dry vapor at state 1, because there is no vapor separated in the separator, only the moisture is separated. So what will be quality? Quality will be equal to mass of the vapor at state 1 divided by the total mass. So this is the procedure by which we can measure the dryness fraction of the steam using a separating and throttling calorimeter. Okay, any doubt about this point? No doubt.
No, sir.
So let us do some numericals that will clarify the problem. So here's wet steam flows in a pipeline at 2 MPa pressure. After expanding to 0.1 MPa in a throttling calorimeter, the temperature is found to be 120 degrees centigrade. Find the quality of the steam in the pipeline. What is the maximum moisture at 2 MPa that can be determined with this setup if at least 5 degrees of superheating is required after throttling for accurate readings? So here in this problem, given pressure P1 is basically 2 MPa, we have to calculate the value of X1, and subjected to the throttling process of pressure P2 is equal to 0.1 MPa and temperature T2 is 120 degrees. Okay, so state 2 is basically superheated state. If you look into the steam table, that the saturation temperature corresponding to the pressure of 0.1 MPa is 99.62 degrees centigrade. Here the temperature T2 is 120 degrees centigrade, which is higher than the corresponding saturation temperature at that pressure. Okay, so T2 is greater than T sat, so it is 99.6 degrees centigrade. Now, we have to find the value of H2. If you look into the steam table, we may not get a state corresponding to 120 degrees centigrade. So what we have to do? We have to go for linear interpolation. Have you done linear interpolation earlier in other part of the thermodynamic class? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So if you look into the table, here we will find that at temperature, the property values corresponding to P2 is given at temperature 99.6 degree. The corresponding value of H is 2675.46. And we have to find the value of enthalpy at 120 degrees centigrade. and the other value given in the table is 150 degree centigrade. The corresponding value of H is 2776.36 kilojoule per kg. So you go for the linear interpolation to find the value of H2. So H2 is basically obtained in this process is 2716.28 kilojoule per kg. So H1 should be equal to H2. Now, what is H1? H1 is in the wet steam. So H1 may be written as HF corresponding to that pressure plus the quality of the steam into HFG. Okay, so H1 is basically HF1 plus X1 into HFG. Now, what is HF1? From the thermodynamic table, we get HF1 corresponding to pressure P1, which is 2 MPa is 908.77 kilojoule per kg, and HFG is 1890.74 kilojoule per kg. So if we write these values, we can find the value of X1. X1 is basically 0.95. Now, the next question is what is the maximum quantity of moisture that can be measured, or what is the minimum quality of the steam that can be measured? Both the things are same. So in order to do that, if minimum of 5 degree superheating is required, so what should be the state 2 temperature? State saturation temperature corresponding to pressure P2 is 99.62. So if my T2 prime should be at least 5 degree more than T2. So it should be equal to 104.62 degree centigrade. So at 104.62 degree centigrade temperature and corresponding to that pressure 0.1 MPa pressure, we have to find the value of H2. And that will give some quality of the moisture. That is the minimum quality that can be measured. So we can see from here that T2 prime, that is the temperature has to be at least 5 degree more than the saturation temperature, which is 104.62 degrees centigrade, corresponding to the pressure of 100 kP. Okay. So again, we'll go for the interpolation and we'll get the value of H2 prime corresponding to that state, which is obtained to be 2685.47 kilojoule per kg. Now, during the process, H1 should be equal to H2, or H1 prime should be equal to H2 prime, because now it will go from state H1 prime, state 1 prime to 2 prime. It's a constant enthalpy process. So if we equate this, we'll get X1 prime. This is the minimum quality that can be measured. So that quality is obtained to be 0.94, and the maximum moisture that can be measured is extract quality that will give you the moisture content. In percentage, it is 1 minus 0.94, which is the minimum quality, into 100, that will give you the 6%. So maximum moisture content that can be determined with this setup is 6%. Okay, got this? This is another problem. Here in a separating and throttling calorimeter, steam sample is basically supplied at 2 MPa pressure. After throttling condition of the steam is 110 degrees centigrade and pressure is 0.1. During 5 minutes of steady state operation, moisture collected in the separator is 0.12 liter at 80 degrees centigrade temperature. Okay. Steam condensed after throttling during 5 minute operation is 3 kg. So this is the value of, according to my previous one, after throttling, how much steam is collected. Find the quality of the steam in the sample. So here given pressure P1 is given 2 MPa. Okay. State 3 is given after throttling. What is the state? Pressure is 0.1 MPa. Temperature is given 110 degrees centigrade. So what should be the value of S3? S3 will get from the table through interpolations. Again, applying the same procedure. So we'll get the value of S3 is equal to 2696.25 kilojoule per kg. So once we know the value of H3, we can calculate the value of H2 because H2 equal to H3 during the throttling process. So once we know the value of H2, we can find X2 because H2 is basically HF2 plus X2 into HG. HFG, it will be equal to HFG. Okay, please make this correction. It will be equal to HFG2. Okay, HF2 plus HFG2. What is the value of HFG2? HFG2 value is 1890.74. So X2 will be equal to H3, which is 2696.25 minus HF2, which is 908.77 divided by HFG2, which is 1890.74. So this is 0.945. So X2 value is 0.945. Once we know the value of X2, we know what is the value of X1. X1 is basically X2 into M2 divided by M1 plus M2, where X2 is the quality at state 2, M2 is the mass of steam condensed after throttling in a given amount of time, which is basically 5 minutes in the present case, and M1 is the mass of the moisture collected in the separator. So here M2 is given 3 kg. What is M1? M1 is given, the volume is given, which is 0.12 liter. So if you convert volume to the mass, you have to divide it by the corresponding saturated corresponding specific volume. Now tell me, what is the state 1? We have basically what is the state of the moisture which is collected. What is given here? It is 0.12 liter at 80 degrees centigrade. What will be its pressure? Its pressure will be equal to 2 mp. So what will be the state? Can you tell me? Can anybody tell me what will be the state? Saturated, superheated, or subcooled? What is the state of the moisture which is collected in the separator? Its temperature is given 20 degrees centigrade and pressure is 2 mp. What will be the state? Anybody? How do you identify? Can you listen me? At least say that yes or no.
Yes, sir. So we don't know, sir.
You don't. Okay. So how to understand whether in which state it is? For that you have to simply check it. What checking you have to do? Let me see if it is there, then otherwise I will tell you how to do it. Okay. So here you can see this is the TS diagram. Okay, so you choose any point. You choose this point. Let us say where my mouse pointer is there. Here the pressure is basically temperature is higher than the saturation temperature. That's why it is a superheated steam. Here it is saturated steam because temperature is corresponding to the corresponding saturation temperature. Now if we go below this, here the temperature is below the saturation temperature corresponding to that pressure. So it is subcooled state. Got it? So you have to check what is the saturation temperature corresponding to your 2 MPa pressure. What is the saturation temperature corresponding to 2 MPa pressure? Corresponding to 2 MPa pressure, saturation temperature will be much higher than 80 degrees centigrade. Okay, because for 1 atmospheric pressure it is 99, it is 100 degrees centigrade. So it is subcooled state. So where to find this VF2? In which table you should consult? You should consult a subcooled state table. Okay, subcooled liquid. Where you can get it? Let me open it. Let me show you. What is subcooled state called? What is the other name of a subcooled state? Don't know?
No, sir.
See, what is mean by superheated state? Superheated state means when the temperature of the substance is higher than the saturation temperature corresponding to that pressure, given pressure. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
That
Yes, sir.
superheated state is also called rarefied state. Why? That superheated state is also called rarefied state because at that state, if you take the temperature as the reference, okay, temperature as the reference, you'll find that the pressure is lower than the saturation pressure corresponding to that temperature. For example, if you consider 110 degrees centigrade steam at 1 atmospheric pressure, what is the saturation pressure corresponding to 110 degrees centigrade? It is higher than the atmospheric pressure, right? So pressure, but the prevailing pressure is 1 atmospheric pressure. So pressure is lower than the saturation pressure. So that state is also called rarefied state. So a superheated state is also a rarefied state. Now come to the subcooled state. What is mean by a subcooled state? Subcooled state means the temperature corresponding to that pressure is lower than the saturation pressure corresponding to that pressure, right? Is that clear? Subcooled means the temperature is lower than the saturation temperature corresponding to that pressure. Any doubt about this statement for subcooled state?
No, sir.
Now what would happen to the pressure if there is a subcooled liquid? Let us say we are considering water at 40 degrees centigrade temperature at 1 atmospheric pressure. What is the saturation pressure corresponding to 40 degrees centigrade? It is below atmospheric pressure, right? Yes or no? If you look into the table, 40 degrees
Yes.
centigrade temperature, what is the... So if the water at that state, subcooled state, is in 1 atmospheric pressure and 40 degrees centigrade temperature, that means it is in a compressed state. Its pressure is higher than the saturation pressure. So a subcooled state is also called a compressed liquid state. Got this point? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Got this one.
So here you can see in this problem, in the separator, steam moisture is collected and its temperature is 80 degrees centigrade. So if the temperature is 80 degrees centigrade, you have to go for compressed liquid table. So if we go to the compressed liquid table of water, we'll see what is the pressure. Pressure is 2000 kP. 2 MPa is 2000 kP. And the temperature is 80 degrees centigrade. So can you see the table, compressed liquid water table?
Yes, sir.
So you look corresponding value of VF. V is basically 0.001028 meter cube per kg. So once you know this value of specific volume, okay, so you divide the volume divided by the specific volume to get the mass at state M1. So M1 will be equal to V2 is 0.12 liter, which is equal to 0.12 into 10 to the power minus 3 meter cube, and divided by the specific volume, you will get the mass M1. So once you get the value of mass M1, you can calculate the value X1, which is basically 0.90. So that is the quality of the steam which is required. Let us discuss another problem. Okay. What is that problem? I will partly solve this problem based on the thing here. Here, in this problem, some steam is expanded in a nozzle. The initial pressure is given 1 MPa, that is 10 bar, and it is expanded in a nozzle so that its pressure become 10 kp. What is a nozzle? Is a device. It's a steady flow device. Okay, that the pressure is basically converted to produce. What is the basic objective of nozzle? What parameter will change? Velocity will increase, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is expanded to a pressure of 10 kp, and that steam after expansion in the nozzle, it goes to a condenser. Okay, and where the pressure remain constant, and it is converted to a saturated liquid. That is the entire thermodynamic process. So my state 1 is basically pressure P1 1 MPa and temperature is 250 degrees centigrade temperature. So if you look into state 1 in the thermodynamic table, the saturation temperature corresponding to P1 is 179.9 degrees centigrade. Okay. So T1 is greater than Tsat. So state 1 is a superheated state, which is also a rarefied state. Now process 1 to 2, what is the process in a nozzle? It's an isentropic process. If you consider the process to be reversible and adiabatic, of course it is an adiabatic, but over and above that, we are considering the process to be also reversible. So it is an isentropic process. So 1 to 2 is an isentropic process in the TS diagram. Okay, we have also seen the TS diagram. So state 2 is basically in the two-phase zone. How to ensure that it is in which region, whether it is inside the two-phase zone or outside? You have to just go for finding the value of S1. S1 is basically from the steam table you will get P1 is given, T1 is given, so S1 is 6.882. S2 has to be S1 because the process in a nozzle is isentropic process. The throttling process is isenthalpic process. So that's why H2 is equal to H1. Process in a nozzle is isentropic process. So H2 should be equal to S1. So H2 should be equal to S1, and in one case we can say if you go for pressure of 10 kPa, you have to check whether the value of H2 is greater than Sg corresponding to that pressure or not. So what is the value of enthalpy of the saturated vapor at 10 kPa pressure? That value is 8.150. So 85150 is greater than H2. That means the steam at 2 is in the two-phase zone. That is, it is basically a mixture of vapor and liquid in the saturated state. Okay. So we have to find the quality. So how to find the quality? Quality is H2 is equal to SF plus X into SFG. So we'll get the value of quality of the steam. So what value of quality will be getting? If we substitute the property values, it will be equal to 0.83. So if we apply the steady flow energy equation subjected to this control volume, you can write H1 is equal to H2 plus V1 square by 2. Here, the velocity in section 1 is basically velocity in the section 1. I have written it actually H1 is equal to H2 plus it should be equal to V2 square by 2. We may neglect the velocity in the section 1. That's why I have written in this way. But more logical expression should be equal to V2. Okay. So what will be the value of V2? V2 will be equal to under root of 2 into G into H1 minus H2, where H1 and H2 are basically the differences between enthalpies at state 1 and state 2. So we have calculated, we know what is state 1. Enthalpy we get from the superheated steam table. H2. We know the pressure, we know the quality of the steam, so we can find the value of H2. Once we know the value of H2, we can calculate what is the value of V2. V2 is basically 2 into H1 minus H2. So both H1 and H2 values are given, so we can calculate what is the value of V2. Now, if we are asked what is the mass flow rate, okay, so mass flow rate will be equal to rho 2 A2 into V2, which is basically A2 into V2 divided by specific volume. Okay. So where V2 is the velocity here. Okay. Now, what is the mass flow rate of the steam? Okay. We have to first find the value of V. V2 is equal to Vf2 plus X into Vg2 minus Vf2. So from the steam table, you corresponding to that pressure at state 2, you get the value of Vf2 and Vg2. So you get the value of V. Once you know the value of V2, you can calculate for 1 kg of mass flow rate, what should be the area that we can calculate in this problem. Okay. So once you know the area, that is one part. What is the other part of the problem? The other part of the problem is that we have to do that there is a condenser. Okay, so you know the steam state at state 2. You know the steam state at state 3, that's saturated liquid. So what should be the mass flow rate of the liquid water in the condenser in order to convert that 10 kPa steam at 10 kPa pressure at state 2 to the saturated liquid state at 10 kPa. We got the second part of the problem that you have to do, yes or no? Everybody understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in the first part, there is a nozzle. State at the inlet to the nozzle is given. State exit to the nozzle is given. You have to find the velocity at state 2, exit velocity, and you have to find the area A2 if the mass flow rate of the steam is 1 kg per second. Okay, that is given. Now, if the same flow rate of the steam is prevailed, we have to convert the steam which is coming out of the nozzle to a saturated liquid. So what should be the rate of liquid water or cooling water in the condenser if the cooling water enters at 20 degrees centigrade and if it is rejected at 30 degrees centigrade for this given system? That we have to do. Now, today we'll be talking about a small topic. There are two more topics, theoretical topics we are supposed to discuss. One is the Gibbs phase rule that I will discuss in the next class with some of other numerical problems we'll be discussing. And the other small thing we'll be discussing. So far we have seen that within the two-phase region, that means when the saturated liquid is converted to saturated vapor, in that region, temperature and pressure are dependent. So what is that relation? We have seen the saturation curve, pressure temperature variation within that saturation zone for different kind of fluids. They have got a variation that we have seen as a curve representation, as a functional representation. Now, what is that functional expressions that we are interested to find? And that relation give us the name of that relation is called the Clausius and Clapeyron equations. Have you studied that relation earlier? Yes or no?
No, sir.
Now, let us look into that. What is enthalpy? Enthalpy is basically a combined property. H is equal to U plus PV. So what is DH? DH is basically DU plus PdV plus VdP. Now, if you apply first law, du plus PdV is basically dq, and for irreversible process, the dq is also TdS. So we can write dH is equal to TdS plus VdP for an irreversible process. That we know. Now, we have to define a property, a function called the Gibbs function. What is Gibbs function or Gibbs free energy? Gibbs free energy is written as G is equal to H minus Ts. So dG may be written as TdS. Okay. What may be written? dG is equal to TdS plus VdP. Again, here you get G is basically H minus Ts. Okay. If we write G is equal to H minus Ts, what is dG? dG will be equal to dH minus TdS minus SdT. Okay. Now what is dH? dH is basically TdS plus VdP. So as a whole dG we can write, this is dH term. dH is TdS plus VdP minus derivative of TS is TdS minus SdT. So TdS will cancel out. So what we'll get is dG is equal to VdP minus SdT. Now, during phase transformation, what are the things remain constant? Pressure remain constant, right? During the entire phase transformation, and temperature also remain constant. So you can see dG is basically VdP minus SdT. So during phase change, since both pressure and temperature remain constant, you can say dG should be equal to 0. So G is constant during phase change process. Any doubt about this statement?
No, sir. No doubt.
Okay, so it comes from this derivations. Okay, so dG will remain constant, where G is the Gibbs function, which is equal to H minus Ts. So if you just write this expression, we'll get dG is equal to 0. So we'll exploit this idea to find a relation between pressure and temperature at the saturation state. Okay, so if dG is remain constant, let us say G suffix L is the specific Gibbs function of liquid, and G superscript V, it is not subscript, G superscript V is specific Gibbs function of vapor in a particular state. And let us say during any process, let us say a system is at a pressure P and temperature T. Now, let us say we are changing the pressure to P to dP and temperature T to dt. So what would happen to change in the Gibbs free energy of the system? Let us say Gibbs free energy of the system will change. For the liquid state, which was in GL, if we increase the pressure, it will take a new Gibbs free energy. Let us say it is GL plus DGL. And similarly for the vapor state, okay, it will go to GV plus DGV, because we have increased pressure and the corresponding temperature has also increased. So this is basically GL. GL will tends to GL plus DGL, and GV will tends to GV plus DGV. During phase transformation, what would happen? dG is equal to 0. Okay, so what will be equal to DGL should be equal to DGV. Why? Because you can say GL is equal to GV. If GL is equal to GV, if we make both pressure and temperature change by infinitesimal small amount, during any phase transformation process, GL and GB will be same, because dG has to be same during the phase transformation process. So GB minus GL is equal to 0. So GL is equal to GB. Now if you change it, both the temperature and pressure, how the GL and GB will change? In this way. New GL will be equal to GL plus DGL. New GB will be equal to GB plus DGB. Now in that new state where pressure is P plus dP and temperature is T plus dt, there also the Gibbs function has to remain constant. So what we can do is that new GL and GB has to be same. So DGL should be equal to DGB. So we can say DG is basically VdP minus SdT. We have already seen in the earlier cases. So DG is equal to VdP minus SdT, that for the liquid and vapor we can write separately. DG for the liquid is VLdP minus SLdT. For the liquid state, that should be equal to VBdP minus SPdT. So what we can write is dPdt. Here in this expression we are getting dPdt, which is the gradient pressure with respect to temperature. That should be equal to SB minus SL divided by VB minus VL. So that is one of the relation between pressure and temperature during the phase transformation process. So dPdt may be written as SB minus SL divided by VB minus VL. Okay. Now, SB minus SL, what is this? This is the specific entropy change during phase change process. Okay, how we can correlate this with the heat, supplied heat? What is entropy change during a reversible process? During a reversible process, del Q is equal to TdS. Okay, del Q is the supplied heat, which is supplied at a temperature T, and during this process, entropy change is ds. So if you look into your phase transformation process, here ds is the change in entropy between the vapor state and the liquid state. So SB minus SL may be written as heat transfer during the phase transformation process, which is the latent heat of evaporation divided by the temperature at which phase transformation is taking place. That is the Tsat. So if you know the latent heat and the corresponding saturation temperature, you actually know the numerator is V minus SL, which is basically L divided by Tsat. So one thing we can write, dp dt is basically L divided by T sat divided by Vb minus Vl. Okay. So that L is also known as HFG, enthalpy of evaporation process. So this equation is known as, in its primitive form, it's called one of the form of the Clausius-Clapeyron equation. Now think of a situation for liquid. Specific volume is liquid is much smaller than specific volume of vapor. So if you look the phase transformation process from liquid to vapor, okay, so what we can write, dp dt may be written as hfg divided by T, where T is the saturation temperature, into specific volume in the vapor state. So if you integrate it, you will get pressure as a function of temperature. Okay. Similarly, for solid to liquid transformations, what would happen to that case? That L will be equal to the latent heat of melting, and it will be equal to T into VL minus VB. Now, if you consider for water, during the phase transformation, VL minus VB is less than 0. So dp dt is to be negative. Okay, and for the substances where VL minus VB is greater than 0, dp dt is positive. Now just recall your PT diagram. Okay, can you recall the PT diagram? Let me go back to the PT diagram. Here, what is the slope of this melting curve for the substance that expands on freezing? It is negative, right? Yes or no? Why it is negative? It comes from that relation. So if you plot P versus T, you will get this basically dp dt is negative.
Negative.
Okay. Okay. Because VL minus VB, this difference is basically less than 0 in this relation. Okay. So here it is less than 0. For other substances, it is greater than 0. So in that case, it will be positive. So if you integrate this, you will get the Clausius-Clapeyron equation, where HFG will be constant, dB will be also constant, so you can find the relation between pressure and temperature. Okay, so any question? I hope if you have any question, I will try to answer that. Tell me.
No, sir. No question from my side.
So are you people studying any book or something?
Except from notes, YouTube, books, sir.
Okay. Fine. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.